Having an Xbox 360 was an interesting time for me. It was the first time I was ever introduced to the concept of online multiplayer games, and it even introduced me to different game series that I would come to love. Call of Duty being one of them, despite their newer games just being gross. Not fun. Not fun is a better way of saying it. Whether I just grew out of the games or couldn't be bothered playing with their online community of children that like to insult random strangers on the internet, I don't know. But one thing I do remember is playing Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, a game so great that I can pick one up on Amazon for $10. Did I say great? I meant awful. This game hasn't aged gracefully, but hopefully this review will shed some light as towards why I picked up this game, because I remember having some affinity towards it. My rose tinted glasses were on as I thought about my days playing on Xbox 360 in high school. My friend also had this game, and I'm fairly sure I remember both of us liking it, even if he says otherwise nowadays. I guess it should be telling that I have played the entire title, and I honestly can't remember what I was even fighting for the entire game. So let's quickly read an excerpt from Wikipedia, the most reliable website around for anyone doing an ounce of research. I should have probably planned this actually. I'm just now opening up Wikipedia to fucking look at something. Despite the downfall of Carlos Ontiveros and his coup in Mexico City, rebellion across Mexico continues unabated, spreading civil unrest across the country and into other Latin American countries, including Colombia, Honduras, and Panama, with the Panama Canal effectively shut down by the rising insurgency in Latin America. Fuck that noise! God, that was so boring! Ugh. Call of Duty might have an issue of having really over-the-top gameplay with lots of spectacle and cutscenes thrown in, though it is much better than what this game gives you. You're never really a part of the conversation. You're a soldier that needs to listen to your commanding officer as he gives instructions on what needs to be done next. I am fully aware that this is a Tom Clancy game, and that should explain its heavy focus on narrative while also bringing some military-based combat into the mix. However, I don't think this is the right way to use your visual medium. As an example, Call of Duty has very distinguishable enemies. Typically, there's one bad guy, and you're usually lucky enough to survive most of the shit thrown at you. Hell, sometimes they talk to you, which is more than enough to keep the player engaged in the situation. This is your enemy. He needs to die. I don't know, maybe I'm the one who's overreacting. Maybe I'm the one who is at fault for not caring about the narrative of the story, though after a while, these people just talking to you in the top right corner of your screen end up becoming white noise. They can talk for multiple minutes about the plot, and I'll just be here waiting for the next order so I can play the gosh darn game. The gameplay is nothing special. It's a third-person cover-based shooter that relies on the player being tactical to proceed through the game. The problem I found with the game, and what we'll be talking about through most of this review, is that being tactical is hard. It's very restrictive and almost feels impossible at times. Here's the idea. Typically, in any given level, you're given a support squad of some kind. This can range from tanks, UAVs, helicopters, moving ammo supply stations, and most commonly, your teammates. These can be used to strategically play through the level you're placed in. You're able to command all your teammates to move into position, search ahead for enemies, and open fire when enemies are nearby. There's even the system where you can look through the camera of each of your teammates to see what they're looking at. This is great for getting a tactical view of the situation. You can even point and tell them to move in this mode, which is even better since you don't have to be physically with them to point them in the right direction. Here's the problem I see with your teammates. They never move individually. There's no way to tell the team to split up and cover from different spots in order to get a better strategy in place. They all move in unison. If one of them is told to get in cover behind a specific wall, they all get behind cover behind that specific wall. This restricts you quite a bit. It's nice to have cannon fodder to send ahead to see if enemies are nearby, but besides that, the actual use of your team, tactically, it's terrible. They're not ideal. Moving in unison poses an even bigger problem with customized team composition. Whenever you're given the option to pick your squad out from the multitude of different classes that there are, it can be difficult to get them to work properly. The biggest and most blatant example being the sniper class that you can pick over having a medic on the team. This specific class is made to pick off enemies from a distance. The problem is she's constantly tied down to where her team is. You can put her at a distance like her class entails, but if you do, then the team won't be able to open fire because they have a much shorter range, effectively making the sniper class for your squad useless. On top of this already annoying fact, your teammates have no sense of self-preservation. I have seen instances in which a grenade will fall near them and they don't run away from the grenade into different cover. These guys will run out of the way of explosives into gunfire without finding new pieces of cover. If not getting killed by the explosion itself, getting killed by incoming gunfire. How hard is it to program the NPCs to find new pieces of cover away from the grenade and incoming gunfire? Is it because they have to move in unison? Do they have to find a cover big enough for the whole team? Whatever the case, the teammates you have need to be told what to do on a regular basis. They will not move without your say-so and will even stay still behind cover when gunfire is coming at them and they are not in assault mode. Hell, I've seen NPCs getting stuck in random areas and their incompetence is just unmatched. Command them separately. Where the fuck are you? Why are you 91.6 meters away? Why are you 91.6 meters away? Look at Joe, he's 5.3 meters away. Are you stuck? He is stuck. He literally can't move. You idiot. Okay, well, I guess we'll go with Alex Nolan and Joe Ramirez and we'll consider Bo Jenkins MIA. I didn't even mention the other support squads you can have. I specifically want to talk about the tanks and the helicopters, since while these can be good, they are very frustrating to use. As you might expect, the benefits of a tank are to have moving cover and immense firepower to take out enemy tanks and vehicles. Commanding these things can be tough. Tanks have two functions when no enemies are present: move forwards and move backwards. Commanding them to move can be frustrating in itself since they clearly have designated start and stop points littered throughout the map. So sometimes you'll tell them to go and they move 10 feet, then need to be commanded again. So essentially you have to hold their hand while walking throughout the levels, though I wish I could say that was the worst of it. Sometimes the game will spawn anti-tank gunners that will target your tank and helicopters should they get close enough. Oftentimes, you can't really spot these guys before your tank takes damage, so if you want to make sure your tank doesn't die, you gotta tell them to move back into some type of cover, since most levels with tanks are linear tracks that allow the tanks to go around buildings. But oftentimes, when engaged in combat, your tank will seriously delay listening to your orders, so they'll take more damage in the time it takes you to get them out of combat. Tanks and helicopters will also not attack without your say-so. This is something that confuses me profusely. Why don't they attack without me pointing a finger at the guys who are obviously shooting at us? So your tank meets with another tank and you want your pal to take it down. You gotta either be near enough to the enemy tank to point at it and press the contextual command button to tell your pal to attack, or you gotta look through the crosscom to tell them to attack. Here's the thing that confuses me about this. Our team of idiots has two settings, Recon and Assault. So why can't I have these things for the tank as well? It's hard to feel like a tactical team captain when all your teammates need specific instructions written down on what to do and where to go. I can't tell you how much I hate these NPCs, and it honestly drives me mad. It drives me so mad that these NPCs exist. And you wanna know why? You wanna know why it drives me mad? It drives me mad because the game plays at its absolute best when you're alone. That's right, I said it. Some of the best levels in the game are when you don't have to worry about these idiots, essentially making them redundant to the overall experience. There is a level where they give you a gun that has a camera attached to it. With it, you're able to peek over walls without exposing most of your body and shoot enemies from relative safety. This segment is actually fun, believe it or not. The gun is fun to use, fending for yourself is more fun than constantly yelling at your team to help you win battles. You even get to use night vision goggles to aid in your quest, though admittedly, the game does look a bit more hideous with these things on, though you can't play without them because if you try to, the game will actively lose frame rate from all the effects they put in this low light environment. Who designed this game? It should be inherently obvious that you shouldn't add these many effects to a low light segment and call it a day. Was the idea of this to get players to activate their goggles in order to play through the level properly? Was it to force them to use an item that gives me better frame rate? I don't know. But it definitely is a good level, despite its shortcomings. I'm being really hard on the game, aren't I? But let me get something straight. I don't pick on these games because I dislike them. I pick on these games because I want them to be better. Honestly, underneath the surface of really subpar AI, this game has some good stuff going for it. Some ideas that could very well be fleshed out more. Narrative was never a driving factor for me wanting to play the game, but I'm sure if given more tender loving care, the plot could be much more engaging. The idea of having a team that you can command individually with specific orders and more coordinated attack patterns, it's awesome! Give me more control over the 3 guys and we can have ourselves a fucking party! Hell, why make it so all 3 of your NPCs can be commanded all at once when you can give them individual slots for themselves, maybe with buttons dedicated to giving them commands in unison and buttons dedicated to giving them commands separately? I want to love this game, I do! There's so much that's good about it, but amongst all the bullshit implementation, I can't in good faith recommend this title. It's just so much of a jumbled mess that I wonder how it made it through in this state. The back of the box doesn't even seem that confident either. But hey, who knows if they fixed this already with newer titles like Ghost Recon Wildlands. I still need to pick that up. If you describe a game by the genre it's under, it's really easy to overlook the concepts that make each game unique as well. Throwing out a few examples, Portal is an FPS, Danganronpa is a dating simulator, and Shantae Half Genie Hero is a platformer. Wait, that last one is true because Half Genie Hero is a terrible sequel.